Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. We have an amazing show for everybody today. What do we have, Krystal?
Indeed, we do. Got a great panel today. Rachel Bovard and Jennifer Holdsworth-Karp. We also have Ryan Grimm talking about the Republicans who were most instrumental in planning the events of January 6th. We've got Matt Stoller on to talk about the tech response to all of this. But we wanted to start with some real fallout and potential consequences for President Trump and other Republicans out of all of this.
Yeah, that's right. And so President Trump in particular is really facing a crisis in his post-presidency. We talked here about how one of the things he was most concerned about is his legal exposure. But of course, central to much of his existence is his money. And it's increasingly becomes clear that he is going to have a tough time as a private citizen. The most significant news to both of us was this announced yesterday. Let's put it up there on the screen. Deutsche Bank, his primary lender, has decided to refrain from further business with Trump. And the bank, the New York lender that's long catered to his family, said it is cutting ties and is pressing for his resignation. So the bank, which essentially made Trump, I think a lot of people need to understand how much his loans has floated the Trump that we knew in the public eye of the last 20 years. Is now done with him forever and cutting him off. And he faces some serious financial problems in the couple of years ahead.
Yeah, and look, let's be clear, neither of us is pretending like Deutsche Bank is some moral actor with principles. Where these are the people who went after Jeffrey Epstein,
they're Epstein
seeking
criminals too.
Seeking his business. So let's be clear about that.
I'm not lionizing Deutsche Bank. I'm like, this is bad for Trump.
Exactly. So this is from the New York Times, just to give you a sense of what a big deal this is. Deutsche Bank, which has been Mr. Trump's primary lender for 2 decades, has decided not to do business with Mr. Trump or his company in the future, according to a person familiar with the bank's thinking. Mr. Trump currently owes Deutsche Bank more than $300 million, which is due in the next few years.
That's a lot of money.
Bank has concluded that short of forgiving the debt, it has no way to extricate itself from Trump's relationship before the loans come due. Another longtime financial partner of the Trump Signature Bank also is cutting ties. That bank, which helped Mr. Trump finance his Florida golf course and where Ivanka Trump, the president's daughter, was once a board member, issued a statement calling on Trump to resign as president in the best interest of our nation and the American people. So what does that mean? In a few years, when that debt comes due, $300 million, they're not going to float that line of credit again. So he's got to find someone else who's willing to do business with him. This is a catastrophe. And look, New York Times has a whole write-up about how this is damaging his brand. I mean, he already had some question marks about his brand, which was built on being like a luxury kind of destination, how that was going to play out in the post-presidency. And now he has just really exacerbated the financial problems that he's going to face, not to mention the political and personal consequences and all of that as well.
Yeah, that's right. And so the second one, let's throw it up there now about the PGA Tour. This one is also significant. So the PGA announced that they will not be having their event at the Trump National Golf property. And apparently Trump reacted in orders of magnitude more anger to the PGA
decision. They say he was gutted by the PGA move.
Well, we all are, right? No, but for real, this is a big problem.
About first world problems.
Because once again, the Trump business model was all centered, as you say, on luxury stuff, but also on events. It's always a huge cash cow for Trump, from Trump Mar-a-Lago, Trump National, and the golf course, many of his golf properties, and more people are resigning their memberships at many of his properties. And now he's going to have much more trouble attracting celebrities and others into the fore to come to some of his tournaments, properties, and more, which was all part of this self-reinforcing business cycle around how he actually made money. And this really will imperil his post-presidential finances and the Trump organization at large. One of the ones that, a lot of caused a big stir, let's put this up there on the screen, was that the Patriots head coach, Bill Belichick, was set to get the Medal of Freedom from Trump. And of course, Trump loves Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft and Tom Brady. And I think Bill Belichick had even said something about how he was going to vote for Trump in the past. Don't, quote me on that one. But he denied getting the Medal of Freedom and in a very passive voice, a strange statement. He's like, we will not be moving forward or in the lights of what happened, obviously trying to massage both sides. But at the end of the day, it's not going to happen. And again, I think this is very significant. Trump is going to have a problem where, yeah, he might be friends with Robert Kraft, but Robert Kraft might be like, hey, man, I can't have you come into my games. Or same Bill Belichick now, not going to be cavorting him. Apparently he was friends with Tom Brady. I mean, the entire social infrastructure is now collapsing underneath from Trump. Then same with the money. And then, of course, the New York State investigations, even if he tried to self-pardon himself, which he shouldn't, and it's also not probably legal, and I hope would get struck down
and Bill
by
Barr
the Supreme
reportedly
Court.
Warned him against.
Yeah, and Bill Barr reportedly warned him against. Even if he did that, I have general confidence the Supreme Court would strike that down. Even if all of that happened, that doesn't apply to state investigations. And any bloodthirsty attorney general or whomever who wants to make a name for themselves, that's the best way to do it.
So look, here's the deal.
Yeah.
Trumpism has always been built on this corrupt bargain between the elites who enabled him, who were happy to get their tax cuts and deregulation and their judges, and the hardcore base, which just wanted him to like piss in the punch bowl. Mm-hmm. That was the bargain, right? And that latter part, which, part of which was expressed in very fulsome and at times violent terms last week, that was the part that kind of took center stage. But never forget that had to be enabled by a lot of elites in this country who gave money, who kept doing business with Trump, who kept doing his banking, all of those things,
Absolutely.
Right? And I actually think, as I was pondering all of this, I actually think that is a key part of why he was able to succeed. And if you think about his movement, him ascending the presidency versus Bernie Sanders, I think part of why Bernie Sanders did not succeed is because he didn't have any elite backing. And you almost have to have the consent of some segment of elites in America at this point, given the state of our system, our democracy, to actually ascend to power and actually, be a political force in this country. So the withholding of that support from elites, if they actually stayed true to that, is incredibly significant. I mean, he can't have his brand, he can't have his business, he can't have his political future, he can't have his social life be what it was if elites truly withdraw their support here.
Which they are.
It certainly appears right now like they are. Now, again, and there have been wave of companies who have ended their political donations, especially to the GOP, and extra especially to the Senate GOP, which is headed up, the fundraising arm is headed up by Rick Scott, who voted against, the certificate or voted for the objections or whatever. He's one of the ringleaders in all of this mess. So that's created particular problems for them. We have a list of some of the businesses that are withholding political donations. Some of them are just withholding donations to both parties. Some of them have specifically said Republicans. Some of them have specifically said Republicans who went along with the Stop the Steal madness. As you know, look, this is the bread and butter of how politics is done. This is how a lot of people have held on to power. They don't have grassroots support. You've got some figures in this town who have grassroots support who can raise money online. It's not a problem for them. You got a lot of others who rely on these big corporate giants to float their campaigns and their spending. So this leaves them incredibly vulnerable as well.
Right. Well, everyone will see me smiling because it's like that DJ Khaled meme. It's like, congratulations, you played yourself.
Right.
I mean, I love it. I'm like, you played yourself. Maybe it's a good thing. Finally they'll all be cut. I'm like, oh, woe is me, JP Morgan. We'll be doling out cash to all these people. What are they going to do? Maybe honestly could be the best thing that ever happened. If these people cut off their donations, people are going to, Rick Scott and others are going to figure, like, what do we do? We have to actually talk to people and try to raise money from them and do something popular.
Have some kind of popular
Try and
deal.
stand against the checks now, Rick, and see how that works out. So I'm actually, look, obviously what they did was terrible and all that. I think this is one of the best things that's ever happened. I love seeing them get all cut off.
Every corporation would be like, we're going to withhold our political donations to both parties indefinitely. That would be the best thing that could happen.
This is the thing. I want to encourage this behavior. Everyone's like, oh, see, the Republican. No. This is great. Cut them off. Cut them off from the source. Now see what happens. They're going to flail in the wind. And if they lose a bunch of elections, because they're still going to run on their same deficit hawk nonsense, now they're not even getting paid in order to push it. So I find a decent amount of schadenfreude in this entire thing.
Of course.
And watching them suffer and twist and watching them come back to the bread bowl being like, please give us some more. It's going to be great. And you're going to see that they reap what they sow because now they are not acceptable in polite corporate society and they are parroting still an ideology which helps them in the hopes that they'll take them back. They'll never take you back, ever. And they shouldn't. based on what you've done.
See,
so it's like, I just think this is a great thing.
I'm less hopeful that they'll never take him back. I think, look, all of these players are cynical actors. There's a reason why they gave a lot of political donations, because they got what they wanted out of it. The moment this dies down and they feel that it's safe to kind of creep back in, then that's exactly what they're going to do. I mean, we've seen this at times throughout the Trump administration where this company or that company or whatever would, announce with a flourish that they were stepping down from the president's council on business or the president's this or the president's that. And then quietly they'd get back into the circle. They certainly would never, stop giving their political donations, stop using their influence. I mean, that's the other thing is, are they going to get rid of their lobbyists? Are they going to stop trying to work behind the scenes? And let's not forget, we covered here how Wall Street had really lined up behind Loeffler and Purdue, even amidst all of this stuff. So color me skeptical that they're actually going to stay out of the political arena. I wish that they would, but it's still nice to see, at least a little bit of a pause in the corporate money spigot.
Let's let them suffer, Krystal. Let's let them all suffer.
Let them twist in the wind.
Because that's my favorite part, too, is whenever they cut them off to Dems, and now I'm like, oh, so you just screwed everybody.
It's great.
Maybe it's a good, truly, I think it is a good thing.
Yeah.
Let's keep it this way. Keep them paused forever.
But I do think, with regards to Trump specifically, I do think he is now completely toxic.
He's in a big problem.
In elite, polite society. And as much as he would like, or Republicans would like to believe that Trumpism is solely powered by the grassroots base and that's enough to sustain it, that's not the case, and it's never been the case. It has required the consent and enabling of elites. And if they truly are done, that's a massive problem for him.
Well, especially for Trump. And the extent to which there was Trumpism that was bought in here, it was the tax cuts, the deregulation, and all of that. And that is the part now which the corporations are like, even with that, we can't be associated with you. As you said, look, couple years, lobbyists, all of that will certainly be there. But this is now a huge problem for especially these corporate Republicans and others who tried to play along. It's like, look, it was always a devil's bargain. It was like, you're going to try and placate the base, which is, not even really the base, but the QAnon people who are storming the Capitol. And you wanted to keep, your cachet on Wall Street. You can't have both. And look, like I said, I think that's a good thing. And I would rather they didn't placate either. And there was a lot of other people in the middle. Maybe they will learn that lesson. I'm extraordinarily doubtful, given what's going to be happening there over the next couple of years. But it is kind of satisfying to see in a certain way.
We're going to tell you what's on our radars. That's next.